Hi everyone, my name is Alfiia. That's my first time on such a big conference and on Cyprus, so I hope you will support me. In case if anybody is wondering why this particular topic is being covered and where my expertise lies, I can say that I worked as translator and an LQA tester for a long time before becoming an LQA manager on the vendor side. So today, the next slide. Today I've been working at Belka Games for over a year as localization manager. At Belka Games we develop games and our flagship title is Clockmaker. Our company is one of the 20 highest grossing game developers in Europe according to Data AI, and our audience recently surpassed the important milestone of 110 million players. Today we'll be talking about localization, specifically its final stage, LQA. So yes, I forgot to say that at the end it will be a funny mini quiz where you can win this, the mascot of our company, the school squirrel. So I recommend paying attention. Okay, so we'll start by localization, then dive into LQA. We'll explore what type of bugs find the testers, how we manage the process at Belka Games, what can happen if LQA is skipped, and what can be missed during the first stages of game development. You can see the key points of localization on the screen. Simply put, localization is when you take the original content and transform it into a more suitable form for another culture. It's not about just translating the text, as you see. After localization comes the LQA stage, which we pay special attention to, and today you'll find out why. You can see the definition of LQA on the screen. During the LQA stage, testers focus on the interface and content consistency, compare what they see in the game with the text provided, and often give recommendations for cultural adaptation. The first and most expected bugs, of course, are the linguistic bugs. They include like errors in spelling, grammar, consistency, and so on. For example, the artist decided to use 3 clover petals and then he changed it to 4. That, for example, requires a change for Italian translation. Or, as you may see on this bug, first the artist decided to use one type of the bell, then he changed it to another one, and this causes a linguistic bug when we need to change the term because the translation doesn't match the in-game item anymore. The next bug is also the linguistic one. When reusing the events, there is a tendency to just change the character and that's all. But this can cause an issue for Japanese because this language doesn't allow us to do this. So if you don't want your fierce and strong character to speak like the little girl from the previous event, please be mindful of such details. Okay, and despite the translator's experience, the presence of an editor, the automated QA checks, and so on, there will be always some minor issues like typos or other small issues. Next, we have cosmetic bugs. Yes, we all want the text to fit nicely everywhere, to look great everywhere. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. For example, here we see that the text doesn't fit in the ribbon, and on another one, that the text on the button is too long and starts to shrink. So in these cases, we shorten the translation and solve this issue. Okay, the next one are also cosmetic bugs. We see that the text is not fully visible. So in this case, we also shorten the translation or enlarge the text box. Of course, the first option is easier to implement. Here we see that the text doesn't wrap automatically in the game, making the string nearly unreadable. Manual line breaks help us solve these kind of issues. The next bug are technical bugs, the most common in LQA. That's when there is a code instead of text or the absence of localization altogether. LQA testers often help in-house specialists catch such bugs as incorrect icons being displayed, missing quests, non-functional tutorials, and so on. LQA testers provide great support to in-house QA specialists. Please be mindful of this. On this slide, we see that the game doesn't support diacritical marks, and developer assistance is needed here. At the beginning of game development, it's recommended to consult native speakers when selecting a font and check for any tricky details. Additionally, the game sometimes fails to support certain characters or letters, so distorting them or not showing them at all. In such cases, we either rephrase the translation or solve the issue technically. Okay, so who can perform the LQA? LQA can be conducted by both native speakers and non-native speakers. On the screen, you see pros and cons for native speakers. For example, on this bug, I, as non-native speaker, cannot see an issue. It looks like regular Japanese text to me. But native speaker can detect even the slightest nuances. On this screen, you see the pros and cons for non-native speakers. If you have a limited budget or you want just someone who knows the language to check your game, you may consult non-native speakers so they can find typos and other minor issues. On the screen, you see simplified steps showing what precedes the LQA stage and what follows it. I'd like to focus on how we arrived at LQA at our company, at Belka Games. The Clockmaker team aimed to implement LQA practices to improve translation quality and avoid receiving warnings when publishing in Google Play and the App Store. However, the lack of a localization manager made this plan slow to realize. Once this issue was resolved, the localization department's goal became to implement and fine-tune the LQA process in our projects. Earlier, we mentioned that Belka Games implemented the LQA stage partly due to requirements for featuring. There are often comments when receiving a feature about line breaks, especially for Asian languages. So LQA helps us catch such issues in advance. There are many examples online where dissatisfaction among certain players could have been avoided by conducting LQA with native speakers, or at least consulting them. On this slide, you see how the Korean tester asks to remove the Japanese flag from the game because some Korean players might find it offensive. When I was an LQA tester, there was a game and there was a quest named something like Find Lake N. But when I opened the map, there was no such lake. There was a pond, but fortunately I had access to the text and I found out that the body of water was translated as lake in one string and in another as pond. A player would have taken a long time to figure this out as they don't have the text, and their frustration would have fallen, of course, on the developers. The translator was good. It was just a case of human error. In a large game with a vast amount of text and tight deadlines, this inconsistency went unnoticed, but the LQA tester, me, managed to catch it. Okay, often at the start of game development, developers don't consider localization. For example, Asian developers often design text boxes for their games, forgetting that European languages are longer. The result is something like you can see on this screen. It's unlikely that anyone will redesign the icons, so the testers may be asked to shorten the text, but this isn't always possible. Okay, and here you see that the text are embedded in texters, which affects gameplay since such lines stick out to players These issues are difficult to fix, requiring code adjustments. That's why it's better not to do this and establish this as a rule early in game development. Okay, how much time is needed for LQA? It depends on the type of your game, how much text do you have, the functionality of the test build, and your readiness to assist the testers. The approximate minimum timeline are showing on the screen. On average, a tester spends about maximum 5 hours per day without compromising quality. But we at Belka Games strive to give as much time as possible because quality is our top priority. If you want to calculate how much time is needed for LQA for your game, use the formula on the screen. And if you are performing a large playtest, add a couple of days for bug reporting. If you want LQA to deliver great results, please pay attention to the conditions on the screen. No one knows the game better than you, and it's in your best interest to make life easier for the testers so they can focus on their work rather than trying to figure out where to click to find the necessary text, what to open. Besides, you pay for their time, so it's really in your best interest. Yes, of course, it would be better if QA helps you with the steps to access the text in the game. If your budget is limited, you can test the few first hours of your game, preferably at least 5, and check like tutorial, UI, welcome offers, and so on. So everything that the player can see within these hours. Or, as we said before, you can consult non-native speakers. You can see conclusions on the screen. Properly conducting localization and implementing LQA can help you increase revenue, but only if it's done wisely and effectively. So today I talked about what LQA is, what is found during the LQA process, how we approach it at Belka Games, why we consider this stage essential, and what is often overlooked in early game development. And now we will give away this toy squirrel. Please don't forget to insert your email when you open the link on the next slide. This will be needed to determine who was the fastest and answered all questions correctly. So get your phones ready to scan the QR code. Please tell me when you're ready. Okay, I will, 1 second. So if you see an ad, just skip it. Yes, and I guess we have the winner, 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, not me. That was Eugenia Nekrashevich, yes. So I guess that's for you.
I couldn't answer this question, so yeah.
Okay, so thank you for your attention. You can add me in LinkedIn, and I'm ready to answer your questions.